My friends, the diplomatic clock stopped this morning, and when the patience of the powers runs out, the machinery of lethal war begins to turn. The 60-day deadline granted to Iran has come to an absolute end, and at this very moment, the traffic of supertanker ships in the Strait of Hormuz is practically paralyzed. But if you think the United States response will be just a highly armed nuclear aircraft carrier group, you're still thinking in the last century. Pay attention. Now pay attention, because we are operating under of what I call the powder hourglass. Yes, my friends, the Ayatollahs in Tehran believed they were buying diplomatic time. They didn't realize that every grain of sand that fell was actually a buildup of explosives being assembled against them. And to understand what is about to be unleashed, close your eyes for a second. Feel the suffocating heat radiating from the melted asphalt at a secret base of the United States Central Command in the Middle East. In front of you, under the brutal desert sun, there are no billion-dollar F-35 fighters or pilots waiting for orders. There are fires. There are endless rows of short aerodynamic wings without landing gear. Silent machines ready for extermination. We are talking about the Lucas drone, a low-cost, one-way swarm attack system. Just 4 days ago, US Central Command didn't just threaten. They announced the creation of an entire multinational task force designed exclusively around these disposable annihilation machines. They don't just fly through the skies. This new military architecture dominates the airspace, glides silently across the surface of the ocean, and infiltrates the underwater depths. Today, August 17th, marks the official end of the agreement that was supposed to quietly end the Iranian crisis. There was no extension. There are no meetings on the calendar, only the American naval blockade at full strength. And a ghost swarm waiting for the moment when the president gives the gladiator a thumbs down. This is serious. The escalation has moved from paper to the launch pad, and diplomacy in the Middle East is by nature shadow theater. But what Iran is trying to do now defies military logic and borders on absolute delusion. We have to analyze the central contradiction of this war of narratives. The gunpowder hourglass has run out. Intelligence agencies confirm that both sides are exactly at the same level of hostility as on the first day of the conflict. But look at the level of Tehran's audacity. Iran's blue water navy no longer exists. Its air force is an aging relic. Its ballistic missiles and top-tier drone capabilities have been severely degraded. And even so, a country that is structurally and militarily collapsed announced this morning that it has reached an agreement with Oman to manage the passage of commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, my friends, Trump took the podium and made it clear, if Oman gets involved in this situation, it will be bombed. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard is literally acting like the mafia of the seas. The Iranian proposal leaked behind the scenes is the essence of institutionalized extortion. They mapped out a route where ships enter by skirting the Iranian coast and exit along the Omani coast. They promise an interim period of free passage. But read the fine print, because that's where the poison is hidden. Iranian state media categorically states that the strait will not be opened until the United States lifts the naval blockade and pays war reparations, and eventually allow Iran to charge a protection fee of 7% on the total value of the cargo of every civilian ship that crosses the waters. My friends, this is not diplomacy. This is Al Capone's business model applied to global energy trade. The Ayatollahs refuse to sign any paper that doesn't certify them as the crime bosses of the Persian Gulf. Iran insists that the 60-day deadline never started, since they themselves violated the agreement. In less than 48 hours, launching kamikaze drones against the command bridge of civilian oil tankers out of sheer panic at losing their ability to extort. But Washington saw through the bluff. Central Command left a crystal clear message on the negotiating table. The United States will not tolerate, under any circumstances whatsoever, that international traffic be held hostage. While Iran was drafting memorandums and believed that time was on its side, the Pentagon spent the last 60 days forging the blade that will cut the logistical throat of the Revolutionary Guard. On August 13th, Sentinel activated Task Force Falcon Strike. It is the direct evolution of the lethal Scorpion Strike. We are facing the first multinational and multi-domain attack drone task force in the history of modern warfare. This is not a project for the next decade, it's a combat doctrine being applied this very morning. And if you think this video is important and want more Brazilians to have access to it, you can sponsor this episode right now. How, Shimo Oliveira? Well, you use Super Thanks, the tool that's down here or the information that's in the description. You can point your phone directly at the QR code and you'll go straight to the sponsorship page. My friends, it's time to shield the minds of our people in Brazil. Right now, no one is talking about this with the seriousness it deserves. We need to translate the technical impact so you understand what a one-way attack drone is, like the powerful Lucas. We're not talking about the massive MQ-9 Reaper or the Predator. Those are intelligence platforms worth millions of dollars. Slow, not stealthy, and susceptible to anti-aircraft artillery and shoulder-launched missiles. Lucas is a mathematical aberration that destroys the economy, the enemy's war economy. It doesn't have landing gear. It doesn't have a recovery cycle. It doesn't have a crew or a structure to be inspected after the flight. The aircraft doesn't carry ammunition. The aircraft is the ammunition itself. And that turns the cost equation of American air power upside down. Instead of risking a $100 million F-35 stealth fighter to destroy an Iranian radar, Special Operations Command drops thousands of disposable machines. It's the assembly line of death, operated from ships that no one took seriously. The first time one of these drones was launched in combat was from the deck of the USS Santa Barbara, a literal combat ship that spent decades being ridiculed by analysts as a ship without a mission. Today, it's the spearhead of the deadliest operation on the planet. But the real revolution is invisible to the eye. These drones are not dumb rockets. They are being integrated directly with cutting-edge artificial intelligence. The brain behind the gunpowder hourglass is the Link 16 Tactical Data Link System and the X-62 Vista program, a heavily modified F-16 that recently performed 27 autonomous interceptions over Edwards Air Force Base, pulling sensor data and locking onto targets on its own. Put simply, it's worthy of science fiction. The American pilot in a manned fighter now acts as a conductor. He flies thousands of meters high, views the battlefield through the cockpit screens, selects targets in Iran in real time, and simultaneously redirects a swarm of dozens of Lucas drones to annihilate enemy missile batteries. The enemy is not facing an army. They are facing an armed, disposable neural network that thinks at the speed of light. But we need to stay grounded in reality. The war is not won, and the mood is not one of celebration in the halls of the Pentagon. Technological superiority doesn't solve logistical problems in the blink of an eye, and that's exactly why the tension is so dangerous. The Tehran regime knows it can't win a battle of brute force, so they bet on systemic chaos. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard went on state media, and they declared that no supertanker will move through the Strait of Hormuz without their written authorization. The Authority Committee of the Persian Gulf Strait, controlled by the Ayatollahs, claims that the passage is physically blocked until their mafia-like conditions are accepted. The American CENTCOM, on the other hand, officially declared that the southern route of the strait is clear, safe, and open for all commercial navigation. The clash of narratives collides violently with the mathematics of the oceans. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations monitors the region and reports that ship traffic has plummeted dramatically. The movement through the strait has shrunk to just single digits on certain days. And why? Because it's not enough for the American Central Command to declare the water safe if the asymmetric threat still lurks. And here lies the greatest difficulty of contemporary American military doctrine. Terror is cheap. Iran doesn't need to deploy a battle cruiser to stop the world economy. They just need to put two disguised militants in a speedboat hidden on a tiny island, armed with $20,000 drones and makeshift naval mines. That tiny level of threat is enough to terrorize civilian tanker captains and raise maritime insurance premiums to unsustainable levels. But the Iranians are giving themselves enough rope to hang themselves by trying to paralyze the world. They're dragging the global supply chain into the abyss along with them. The leaders of the Revolutionary Guard mock the West with cheap bravado, trying to impose respect through panic. But the American generals of Central Command don't operate with fiery speeches. They use tactical strangulation. The clash in the Strait of Hormuz is no longer a dispute over territory. It has become a war of psychological and logistical attrition. And the last one standing will be the big winner. And that's why the retaliation when it comes won't be proportional. It will be overwhelming. And for you to understand the full chessboard, it's vital to recognize that what's happening in the sands of the Middle East is not an isolated event. The pieces of the autocratic axis operate in a silent choreography. We need to take a quick look around the globe to see the ramifications of this confrontation. Travel with me from the Persian Gulf straight to the cold of Asia's borderlands. This very morning, a South Korean 4-star general entered the command bunker to activate one of the largest and most lethal live-fire military exercises ever seen on the Korean peninsula. 18,000 South Korean soldiers, supported by military forces from 11 of the 18 nations of the UN command. They are carrying out rigorous crossfire simulations. But why an effort on this scale now? Because Allied intelligence has detected that North Korean troops are actively importing asymmetric combat and drone tactics from the theater of operations between Russia and Ukraine. This same disposable technology that Iran uses to cripple ships is being adapted by Pyongyang to target Seoul. The Trump administration reduced American visibility in these exercises to force a tense diplomatic path with the North Korean dictator. But the Asian nation's lethal war machine did not stop for a single second. And if the tension wasn't enough in Asia, shift over to Eastern Europe. Because during the early morning, the Romanian Ministry of Defense confirmed an extremely serious event. F-18, a Hornet from the Spanish Air Force, on an air policing mission for NATO, was forced to fire a real missile at an attack drone that violated the sovereign airspace of the military alliance. Again coming directly from the territory of Moldova. Although the drone operator has not been officially identified, in preliminary reports, Moscow's fingerprint is irrefutable. Vladimir Putin plays with his usual cynicism, testing the West's air defenses with the same terror machines that Tehran uses to buy off the world. The hourglass filled with gunpowder isn't running only in the Strait of Hormuz. The axis of chaos is coordinating attacks and testing global patience on multiple fronts simultaneously. From the South China Sea, across NATO's borders to the warm waters of the Persian Gulf, the symmetrical threat demands total annihilation in response. Now we come to the verdict of our strategic analysis today, the 4D chess that separates noise from reality. In all recent conflicts, Iran has used the same playbook. It accepted ceasefires, signed memorandums, and created 60-day windows just to turn diplomatic delays into enough time to rebuild its arsenal. The Ayatollah's dictatorship tried to play this game once again. They demanded that the naval blockade be lifted while simultaneously swearing they had absolute control over the Strait of Hormuz. That is the fatal lie. 4D chess proves that you don't beg for the end of a naval blockade if you own the waters. The American stranglehold was absolute, but Iran's strategic tragedy is monumental and irreversible. The clock hit zero. And what's waiting on the other side of that imaginary finish line isn't just a package of conventional missiles. It's an entirely new war architecture, time has worked against the axis of terror. While Tehran was trying to buy time, the United States Special Operations Command didn't back down a single inch. They built a permanent multi-domain drone task force, a technological hydra that becomes bigger, more lethal, and cheaper with each passing month, regardless of what is signed at phony negotiating tables in Switzerland or Oman. The American government set up the worst possible scenario for the Ayatollahs: a disposable, ruthless force capable of decapitating Iran's industrial base and strategic leadership in a single wave of cyber and explosive attacks. Now, show the system that you've decoded this week's hidden geopolitical truth. Go down to our comments right now and type the 2 words of our analytical resistance: lethal swarm and gunpowder hourglass. Yes, my friends, lethal swarm and gunpowder hourglass. And pay attention, because we are in a period where they can block our channel just like that. All it takes is a signature. And that's why we activated our backup channel. If this one goes down, the mission continues there. Its name is Blinde a Sua Mente. Yes, Blinde a Sua Mente. You can use the QR code and go straight to the subscribe button with your phone, or use the link that's pinned here in the comments and in the description. The illusion of a dictatorship is thinking that time can cure its own military inefficiency. But the reality is that tomorrow's war will be won by the machine that doesn't feel fear, doesn't need rescue, and doesn't know hesitation. The clock has run out and the shadows are armed. Naivete exacts a price that nations cannot pay. Ignorance costs you your own freedom. Prepare your mind. Shielding is strategic, and while the system tries to silence the facts with relentless censorship, you can't afford to fight in the dark. That's why we've activated our exclusive platform, a shielded environment, completely free from censorship. Here, you stop being just a spectator and enter our true intelligence bunker. Inside, you join more than 3,000 analysts who found the truth here and pore over the map of what really happens in the machinery of global power. We decode the threat before it becomes a headline. The system wants you blind, hostage, and dependent on official lies. Don't accept this condition. Act now. Point your camera at the QR code on the screen or use the secure link in the description and in the first pinned comment. Enter the intelligence bunker and take full control of your mind. And portraying this hybrid war that is already happening all over the world, involving Ukraine, Russia, Iran, and China. A fantastic series premiered on Amazon and Paramount Plus. Yes, on the streaming service, this series is a hit. And I highly recommend it to you on our channel with tips about series and movies. Guys, they portray exactly what's happening in Ukraine. The whole war being plotted, nothing behind the scenes by Beijing. If you want to have a cinematic context, go check it out. Safe link in the description, in the pinned comment, and in the card that will appear on your video. A curation without culture wars, without whining, and without any hustle. Just enjoy, click, and watch with your family. Now, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video, because this takes work. Shield your mind. Yes, shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you next time. See you then.